The meeting of Shreveport City Council is now being called to order. We'll have a prayer by Dr. Cox and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Corbin.
Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you today for this amazing council, God. We ask that you would provide them the unique skill set that they all possess, God, to render the best decisions for our city. We thank you for our mayor. We thank you for each of our councilmen individually, and we thank you for those who have shown up today. And God, we know one thing for sure. When you're in charge, great things happen. Why? Because today is a good day. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Bradford.
Present.
Councilman Everson. Councilman Jenkins. Councilman Corbin.
Present.
Councilman Flores.
Present.
Councilwoman Lynch. Here. Councilman Bowles.
Here.
Did you get me?
I did.
All right.
Does any council member have any awards or recognitions?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Bradford.
Mr. Chairman, it gives me pleasure to bring my special guest up today. It's Ryan Williams. Ryan is engaged in a project. It's tomorrow. That's why I asked him to come today to share with the council in this city this great opportunity that he saw fit to sponsor. So Ryan, come up and share with us what project you engaged in on tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be very successful.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford, to the mayor and the rest of the council. Tomorrow, Shreveport is actually going to get a chance to do something that people have been doing all around the country. I was watching Good Morning America, and usually when I'm watching TV and I see things, I think about where I'm currently at, which is home. Shreveport is home. It has always been home. Even when I was in the Air Force, I always thought about Shreveport, my home, and things that we can always do to make Shreveport better. Tomorrow we're going to get a chance and a privilege to send over 600-plus kids to see the Black Panther movie. And it's not just a movie, it has a curriculum attached to it. So they'll get a chance to get the full experience of actually getting a chance to go to this mythical place that can actually be right here in their backyard, which we call Shreveport, which will be Wakanda. So they'll get a chance to explore. They'll get a chance to reenact the things that they've had inside of their curriculum. And like I said, there's over 600-plus children that live right inside of Shreveport. They'll get a chance to get that experience. And through gracious donations from people like Mr. Bradford and other members in the community who have actually made this possible. I just spearheaded it. I made a significant donation myself. But because of the great citizens of Shreveport and the people that are around, we'll get a chance to give an experience tomorrow to school kids. And they'll get a chance to enjoy themselves, get a chance to not really take a day off from school, but they'll get a chance to understand that learning goes outside of the 4 classroom walls. And these children come from Cherokee Park, Jerris Clark, Oak Park, Warner Park, so schools throughout Shreveport, Green Oaks Performing Arts Academy. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, and I just wanted to give you that opportunity, and if there's anyone who besides us want to participate, they have an opportunity to do so, I would trust.
Yes, sir. I'm asking anyone who wants to participate tomorrow to welcome the kids as they get off the bus. It's going to start about 9:30 in the morning. The movie doesn't start until around 10:30. But what we want to do is we want to create an atmosphere and also give an experience. And the schools have already made signs that says welcome to Wakanda and welcome the king and things of that sort. So it's giving them a chance to dream and have imagination, which all kids should do, regardless of circumstances, regardless of situation. Bringing back that imagination and that mindset where kids get a chance to actually, grow into a different area and go into a different arena.
As we know, this movie, Black Panthers, has set all type of records. What movie is it? Theaters are showing here in Shreveport?
We're going to be at the Boardwalk, the Louisiana Boardwalk. That's where we'll be located at, yes, sir. Okay. And like I said, we've had the privilege to rent out 3 theaters, 2 for the students and 1 for overflow.
For who?
For overflow. So that's other people who want to actually come out and enjoy the movie with the young people as well. We have overflow.
Like Jane Florida now.
Yes, Mr. Flurry. If you want to come out and welcome the kids to Wakanda, you can.
All right, thank you. And I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. And
yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm going to be there, like I told you, as long as I can in the morning, and and welcome the kids. And the kids are getting the schools. Board have allowed them to come, and they're going to get some credits for being a part of this.
Yes, sir. Each child has their permission slip that was signed by the parent. The curriculum was passed out to the principals 2.5 weeks ago, so they've actually got the curriculum out to the kids. They've completed that part of it, and this is more like the reward end to it, to actually get to see the movie. That way, when they're watching the movie, they don't have to wonder about certain things. There are going to be certain things that they already know and can expect.
Again, my final statement is, again, I appreciate you doing this and spearheading it, and those that I've seen that come up to the plate to help with this, because most of these kids will not have opportunity to go and experience this movie if it wasn't for this effort that you're leading. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Williams for spearheading. You know, like you said, different organizations have been doing this all over the country, and you know, there are just so many great ideas that we get from other places and can duplicate it here. And I've not seen the movie yet, but I've got a meeting, I think, in the morning at 9 o'clock. Infrastructure meeting, some concerns in my district, so I won't be able to be in the older folks section.
Yes, ma'am.
Of the theater. But again, you mentioned some schools that are in my district that will be participating, and I certainly do appreciate you stepping up and spearheading the effort, and just express my thanks to all the sponsors, that participate as well. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And we try to include schools throughout the city of Shreveport, and whenever I'm seeing things on the news or TV, the first thing that pops in my mind, why not Shreveport? Things that people do all over the country, we can do right here. It doesn't matter, the cost or whatever we got going on. So my mind always reverts to that why not Shreveport mentality.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Just for the record, because I didn't want everybody to think this was cheap. Tell us what the estimate projected cost for the kids, for 600 kids to come.
Well, just for the movie tickets alone, we spent $4,681.76.
Wow. Okay.
So we raised that in approximately 2.5 weeks. Yes, sir.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you again for your effort.
Next time I wish it was at a Shreveport-based theater instead of our neighbors across the river. But no, I'm kidding.
Well, Tinseltown actually has the reclining seats, and we wouldn't be able to basically keep an eye on the kids like we needed to.
Oh.
And we wanted to make sure that we had full transparency throughout the entire theater.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Gotcha.
sir.
But no, I think it's really cool. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I think that should be an inspiring thing.
Thank you.
Enjoy it.
Thank you, Ryan. I worked with Ryan a few times with at Queensboro School, and I just appreciate the work you do with the kids and stuff, especially with the young men that we kind of work with together the past 2 times over at Queensboro. So I appreciate the work you do, and I'll try to be there in the morning at 9:30.
Look forward to seeing you, Councilman.
Anyone else?
I'd like to also say thank you so much for what you're doing for our young people. Coming from that area as my first love, I didn't realize you were doing it. So in the future, if you'd like for us to participate, me personally, just let me know.
Yes, ma'am. We'll do.
But it's always important for our young people to have access to, those kinds of things, so that they too can see the world outside of Shreveport.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have one last question. Are you advocating for a movie theater with reclining seats in Shreveport? Maybe on.
I'm advocating for a studio movie grill in
Maybe
Shreveport.
on Cross Bayou
so
somewhere.
That would be great too.
Tinseltown already has one.
Tinseltown has.
Yeah, Tinseltown has them.
Oh,
they
okay.
do. We just wanted something that we could basically have accountability. That's very important when you're dealing with children that are not your own. Make sure that you have
We
accountability.
don't have that in Shreveport. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm hoping that we can get a studio movie grill. Is this a spot where we
Yeah,
advocate for
absolutely.
studio movie grills and
Grill,
stuff
right.
like that? So,
All right.
I picked theater, yes.
Just trying to see where we need to go, Councilwoman,
Yes,
so we can know
indeed. Thank
how to
you.
market.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Any other council member have any awards or recognitions they have? Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the council, we have one announcement, and then we'd like to ask permission from the council if they would allow our appointments that we would like for you to do in about 2 weeks to come up today early,
Yes,
so that
ma'am.
we don't keep people from their jobs.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So the announcement that I have, Mr. Chairman, I want to let everyone know that we're still monitoring the weather conditions and the flooding in our city. We've had 2 meetings at the 911 Center, one on Friday at 1:30 p.m. and another 8 a.m. this morning. The city has closed 3 parks, and I think we put all that out there, so you probably already know, but we want to just remind everybody again. C. Bickham-Dixon, Hamlis, and the dog park until further notice due to the impact from rising floodwaters along the Red River. We've also blocked off 2 sections of the running path along Clyde Fant Parkway because of the rising water also. We're asking the public to please do not remove the barricades. We did have some of those instances this past week. The barricades are in place for everyone's safety, and we strongly urge our citizens not to move or go beyond the barricades. It's really, really important. Throughout the weekend, our Shreveport Police and Fire and, of course, Public Works and SPAR all did monitor flood-prone areas, and we will continue to do that. As of the last update, the Red River was sitting at 30.05 feet with a forecast level of 31 feet by Tuesday. The moderate flood stage for the Red River is 31.5 feet. Major flood stage is 33. We're expecting more rain this week, so we will continue to monitor the water levels. So please know we're working very closely with our Director of Homeland Security, Chef Prater, to keep our citizens safe. So that's the announcement we wanted to make for today. We may do the same one tomorrow again, right, but we want to let people know today that we are wanting them not to remove barricades and to please adhere to the fact that those parks are closed.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Would you like to call your appointments up now?
Yes, sir. If it's council's pleasure, if you don't mind doing that.
That's fine, ma'am.
Okay. Appointments to be made. Property Standards Board of Appeal. We have some reappointments for 2 years beginning March 13th. Dr. Jerome Cox. I know Dr. Cox is here. He said our prayer today. Will you come up, please, sir, to the podium? He currently serves for the Property Standard as chairman of the Property Standards Board of Appeals. And he has a great resume, but we will ask City Council members if they have questions for Dr. Cox.
Yeah, Doc, in regards to your other chair, and a long time ago I was part of that board, what do you see as your positive, negative challenges? Is there anything that the council could do? I know the mayor is doing all she can to help enhance that board. We do have a lot of property standard issues, so can you share with us any concerns or challenges you see?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, it's important. I thought the first thing about the board, the goal is to ensure that the culture is where it needs to be. And what I mean by that is ensuring that the citizens realize that we're not here to bring hardship, but we're here to bring a clean city. You know, we have a motto here: keep it classy and not trashy. So my theory is, if we, I'll give you an example of some of the things that we've done. Is there was a building that needed to be cleaned up, and what we found was that as we went out and looked at it on a site, I mean, I literally go out and we look at it, we actually encountered and had students from Youth Build come out. 18 students from Southern University came out and actually participated in helping clean that facility up. And it's a great, unique, different culture as opposed to us, I would say, over-enforcing. So it was really neat to see the community getting involved, and now you have a situation where your board and those inspectors, and I should point out we're fully staffed. Thank you, Mayor, for that, because we needed the staff. You have to have the boots on the ground in order to get this city clean in that capacity. So so that's some of the good things. I think some of the challenges is being fair about where we enforce and make sure that we're looking closely and deeply. And it's the repeaters and the offenders who do things over and over. I know now we have a thing where we will send out a grass letter and all that, and then we get right to that. But there's some buildings that need to be torn down sometimes sooner than others. But you have a great team that's looking. And I'll give Gary Norman some credit. He's doing a great job, and he sees the big picture. And I think what's uniquely different is having the boots on the ground, though. It's really getting out and seeing what the city looks like. And if you see something abroad, please bring it to our attention, and I can assure you we'll get right on it. And I remind the board constantly that we're volunteers. We work for the pleasure of the city. So we're not out here to necessarily harass folks, but we want it right. So we're encouraging them. And Guy, just long ago, and I'll end on this note, several windows broken out of the buildings, all destroyed. We go out and meet with him, and we find out he doesn't realize that we're asking him to do this because it's a nuisance and it's a hazard. Children could get in the building and be injured. And once he realized the gravity of the situation, he acted promptly and accordingly.
Well, thank you for your service, and you're right. We want a clean city, want a classy city, and your service, what you do is part of that equation. So thank you, and thank the board members as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. Our next one for Property Standards Board of Appeal, Mr. Tristan Larson. Mr. Larson. This is a reappointment also for Ms. Larson. Thank you so much for your service, sir.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Tristan Larson, architect. I'm the sitting architect on the board. This makes probably 17th or 18th year that I've been on the Property Standards Board, and I enjoy doing this. It gives me the opportunity to take a look at what's going on out there and have some input as to some of these buildings that may need a little love and care, and some that just need absolute push over. And the other thing that's kind of near and dear to my heart with these things is that I see a lot of older people that are challenged in terms of accessibility and so forth, and they can't take care of their property well, and often they fall into the category of those that we have being cited. And it gives us an opportunity to be able to help them out as best we can. And I've spoken to the mayor, and she's going to be working with us in terms of being able to connect some of these older people with programs and things that can really begin to make a help here. So we're looking forward to moving on with this. And open to questions this afternoon. Anyone?
Okay. Any questions from Mr. Larson?
I'm saying keep up the good work. That is 18 years there. That's a significant commitment of time and energy.
Been a while.
I was upset about people being on for 3 years.
Well, okay, is that it? Thank you, Mr. Larson.
You all.
Thank you all. Have a
Fairly
super
broad
afternoon.
statement there.
Thank you so much. All right. Our next reappointment is Mr. James Moore.
Who is
Mr. Moore?
2 sets of standards.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Hello. I don't have any questions. I enjoy. I've been associated with property standards issues for some time. I was president of Highland Restoration Association for several occasions during the 1990s, and there's a real soft spot in my heart for older neighborhoods. I kind of have a vision and a feel. You know, I think that modest older neighborhoods that are well maintained are just a tremendous credit for a city. It gives the people in the city, as well as prospective employers that might want to be coming into the city, and maybe they don't, the 400 employees they're going to have, maybe they all can't live at Southern Trace. And if they're modest, well-maintained neighborhoods, that might be a tipping point for them to want to know that their employees would have good, stable neighborhoods to live in. And my involvement with the Property Standards Board of Appeals, we try to make common sense decisions regarding the cases that come before us. In my part, and I believe most of the members of the board, we try to give people plenty of time to accomplish. Basically the question we have for them is, are you the responsible party? And yes. And what are your plans for the property? And we try to give them plenty of time to accomplish what they, to accomplish their plans. First, because that's the right thing to do. And second, if we give them plenty of time, maybe they won't appeal our decision and end up in front of this body. So, but I enjoy. This is some small way that I can do something. Feel like I do something good for the city.
Any questions?
I'm sorry, sir. How long did you say you had been on the board?
8 years at least.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of think like that too. Okay, thank you. And what about Dr. Cox? I didn't get.
Anyone else?
Reappointment.
Is that 4 years, 6? How many years
It
is
was
that?
2 years.
Thank you, Mr. John. I appreciate
years
that.
initially.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
2
Okay.
years initially, and this is another 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. He said he's the baby on the group. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next, Mr. Don Walters, who is currently serving as vice chairman of this board. Mr. Walters.
Good afternoon, Council. Excuse me. I'm Donald Walters. I've been on the board for 4 or 5 years. I'm currently the co-chairman, vice chairman, and it is my pleasure to serve. I'm a 35-year retired band director from Caddo Parish, and I tend to think that I bring a little music to the board. It's a joy working with these ladies and gentlemen. I think the Property Standards Board has improved tremendously. We've seen some hard times, but I think we've weathered the storm. And now I believe we are headed in the right direction. We try to remove blight, but I really have a hard time telling that little old lady she's going to have to tear her house down. So we're going to do everything within our power to make sure that she's going to be able to do something. So it is our pleasure to work and to serve the city. And I think that so far we've done a pretty good job. Any questions?
Okay. No questions, Mr. Walters? Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Walters. Okay. Our last one for the Property Standards Board of Appeal is Mr. Lewis Wells. Is Mr. Wells? Okay. He's also a reappointment. He's been there for a while, and he was off for a little while, but he's back. Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to say good afternoon to the Honorable Mayor Tyler and distinguished members of the City Council. And the opportunity to serve on the Property Standards Board is an honor, and one that I look forward to. I've had an opportunity to serve for a number of years, and consistent with the guidelines that we function under in Article 4 of the Property Standards Board of Appeals, and under the creation of the board, one of the 5 members of the city with a demonstrated interest in the affairs of the community. And so, as a member of the board, Property Standards Appeals Board, I recognize my responsibility to be consistent with the guidelines that are outlined in the ordinance, and I've been able to do that, and I simply look forward to continuing to do that in the future. I know that there are always some problems that we have to resolve as members of the Property Standards Board of Appeals, but we've done that successfully, and my commitment is to continue to do that.
Any questions for Mr. Wells?
Seeing none.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wells. Thank you so much. All right. Tree Memorial Library, reappointment for 5 years. Ms. Shannon Hicks. Okay. Ms. Hicks.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm very proud to stand before you as an appointee to the Shree Memorial Library Board. I'm a local librarian, and it means a lot for me to serve on the library board, particularly the one where I started my literacy journey, where my dad, who's here today, took me every Saturday as I was growing up, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure to be able to serve. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
But primarily, what's your function as a board member on the board?
Currently, I serve as the vice president of the board, and as a board member, we're concerned with implementing and maintaining policies that make our library system a first-class system.
Do you? I mean, all the boards, all the communities are not the same. I mean, not boards, but all of the libraries placed in various demographics of the city. For instance, the Wallet Library, for instance. Are there any because it draws a little their frequent users are usually from the low income neighborhoods. Is there anything particular that could enhance that branch more so than branches in other parts of the city?
Well, I have a particular love for that because it is my local library. It's also adjacent to the library, the school where I am a librarian, so I have a personal great relationship. But I will say as a board member of the Shreveport Memorial Library Board that one of the things that I try to strive for as a board member, and I know that our very well qualified and very good executive director does, is the heart of a good library system is access to all, equal access to all, not necessarily quality, but equitable access. And so what a patron will get when they walk into Broadmoor would be the same experience as they walk into North Shreveport or Wallet or any other branch. Now, each branch manager has a special task or responsibility of making sure that for their particular patrons in their area that they're providing services and programming that they need to do. But as a board member, that's beyond my purview.
I see.
Okay. But as a board member, we do, I am very much a stickler for implementing and maintaining policies that would give equal access to everyone, because that's the heart of any good library system, which I think Shreveport Memorial is one of the best, obviously.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. Hicks?
No, thank you. I appreciate your service on the board.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch.
Been on the library board a little over 5 years in a prior life of mine. I know the good work and how involved, the board and what all is entailed in that. And so are you active in the ALA?
I am. I'm active in ALA, AASL, LLA, and I'm president of the Caddo Association of School Librarians.
Okay, wonderful. I'm so glad you kind of found your sweet spot.
I did.
Career-wise and what have you. I don't remember exactly how I was following that, but, when you kind of made that transition, made that little turn, it was just, it was just good to see you find your true calling.
Well, I have.
And so much continued success on that journey.
Thank you.
It does seem to suit you well.
It does. It really does.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all for allowing me to serve. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. And just want you to know that I did put the vita of each of these individuals when we sent that to the council office. So a lot of that information is there for your perusal. I want to also thank Dr. Raymond Hicks for being here this afternoon, the father of Ms. Shannon Hicks, and he is such a great leader in this community. So thank you for being here this afternoon with your daughter. Our next appointment to the Shreveport Memorial Library is a new appointment for 5 years, Mr. Donald Howard. And Mr. Howard, will you please come forward?
Whose place is he taking? Whose place is he taking?
Mr. Howard is replacing Mr. Hope Bates. Ms. Hope Bates. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. And I've got that also included in your information.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Council. It's an honor to be nominated for membership on the board, and I look forward to the opportunity if you all bless me to have that opportunity. Any questions?
What's your career, your everyday position in the job?
Work at Southern as Director of Career Services, assisting employers and connecting with our students and assisting the students in preparing for their career path.
Okay. Thank you. I often tease Mr. Howard. I call him Mr. Vernon Howard because his wife, of course, is the Executive Director over at Providence House. We tease him quite a bit. Thank you, Mr. Howard, for your willingness to serve on this board. And I know that council members have not had a chance to peruse all of these vitas, but if you'll look at that information, it is there for you.
Okay. One last question. Is there anything particular you feel you can offer in this position?
Well, I am a consumer. I have 2 young children, and they, believe it or not, they like the public library better than they like the school library. Oh, y'all recording that. But I think bringing some fresh eyes, being a consumer, but being able to sit on the board and see it from that side of the table, I think I will be able to bring some thoughts and maybe some insight that maybe we hadn't looked at in the past. I would love for us to, have the opportunity to determine if there are ways that we can maybe make the downtown branch a little more accessible. I know that there are people who would love to come to downtown, but sometimes with the parking challenges, it can be an issue. And so, again, I think bringing some fresh eyes is one of the things that I'll be able to do. And in addition to that, with my background, professional background, I might be able to assist in maybe staff development, leadership development, those kinds of activities. Any other questions?
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Thank you all. Thank you.
All righty. Next is Human Resources Personnel Board reappointment, Mr. Larry Williams. Mr. Williams, are you? He is not here today. Okay. Historical Preservation, Dr. Gary Joyner is here today with us, and he's a new appointment also to this board. I think we all know Dr. Joyner.
Probably by now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you,
and
Dr.
Council. Most of you know me. I'm Gary Joyner. I'm chair of the Department of History and Social Sciences at LSUS, and I've done a ton of work with the city and love this place. I've been here for 36 years. I'd like to try to double that. We'll see. If not, I'm going to give it my best. So
You can get some
I
tips
currently
from Bill Weiner.
work sort of ad hoc with the HPC, providing analysis and database help for anything that comes up. And I also assist them in national historic preservation status. So, any questions?
Well, I somehow in my mind thought you were already on the board, or were you involved in the committee?
He was on the committee that worked with us to draft the ordinance.
To draft the ordinance, okay. Because I was like, and now that is not true because he was involved, but now that's the answer.
Yep, I helped write the ordinance.
Okay.
But he is not. He is not
a
on
board
the
member.
commission.
That,
he is now. We're appointing him. We're appointing him as an official board member.
Makes perfect sense. But
happy to serve.
All right. Keep up the good work you do in our community.
All right.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you so much, Dr. Joyner.
Thank you.
All right. Those are all of the ones that we're bringing for your consideration as confirmation. No, we got one more, and that one is, and I don't have that sheet, and that is from the attorney's office, and that's
Ms. Felicia Hamilton.
Yes, Miss Felicia Hamilton. I'm sorry. I didn't have it on my cheat sheet. Miss Hamilton, are you here today? Hello. Good afternoon. And I know this young lady.
Yes, you do.
I certainly do. Okay, Miss Hamilton, of course, is we are appointing her as an assistant city attorney for Attorney Bradford's office, and so we have her here. And if you just introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon again. My name is Attorney Felicia Hamilton. I am a product of Shreveport. I left Shreveport approximately 28 years ago and came back about 3 years ago after having successful careers as an accountant, doing a real estate development for Walmart Stores, Inc., and then going to law school. And having my law license brought me back to the beautiful city of Shreveport, and here I am. And here I stand, ready, willing, and honored to serve in the capacity of Assistant City Attorney as a prosecutor at Shreveport City Court, where I believe in doing my due diligence in being fair and being prepared. Okay. Any questions?
You must have left at 6 months. You said you've been gone?
Yes, 6 months. I was 6 months old when I left. Yeah.
Okay.
So how long have you been practicing law?
I've been practicing law approximately 3 years.
3 years. Here in Shreveport.
Here in Shreveport. I came back after, as I stated, I left in '87. I graduated from Magnet and attended Dillard University in New Orleans, moved to Washington, D.C., where I worked as an accountant between Washington, D.C. and Atlanta for 15 years as an accounting practitioner. I then went into real estate as an entrepreneur. I am a real estate broker with licenses in Georgia as well as Arkansas. Walmart Stores, Inc. asked me to come and spend a year with them doing real estate development for their company. I stayed there 5 years, and after 5 years I decided to go to law school. And 25 years later, after graduating from undergrad, I went to law school and completed law school at Southern University Law Center in Baton Rouge, passed the bar, and moved back to Shreveport.
See, the good thing about our office is we cross-train, so now I have a good real estate attorney. She doesn't know that.
You will have to pay for that. You will have to pay for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, she was a student at Uri Middle School.
That is correct.
Under me. So, anyway, any questions, any more questions for me?
I want to ask you, and I don't have to tell you the makeup of those defendants that comes in there. I mean, it's really majority African American with all type of issues. What's your approach as a prosecutor? What would your approach to be in regards to those that come before you?
Well, and that's with anybody. I think you should be courteous and respectful. We all come in and carry baggage, regardless of what that baggage looks like. But I think you start out of the gate with respect to all individuals and being courteous. Obviously, they were the people that come into Shreveport City Court have come as a result of various citations, whether that be state charges or DWIs or violations of city ordinances. It's important that I read the file. It's important that I'm prepared. It's important that I know the law, and I am courteous and respectful in communicating with the particular defendant.
Okay. Well, and just in the few minutes that I've met you, you seem both energetic and very courteous. So I believe that you will do very well with
Thank
that.
you.
But it does sound, I mean, I look forward. I have not had a chance to review the resume, although I'm sure it has been sent. But your background sounds great and welcoming. It's a good opportunity to have you as part of the team, and I look forward to having you working with us. So,
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Just want to say thank you for your willingness.
Thank you.
And I've met her a few times around the city in different areas, and she's always been the same. That's the same person that she's been. I love your personality. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And we're
Mayor.
glad you're back home.
Thank you for
All
having
righty.
me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can I ask the city attorney, is this a new position or is this replacing someone?
She is replacing former city prosecutor.
A replacement?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All righty. Those are
That's it.
those are they. Thank you so much.
Ma'am. Again, any other council member have any recognitions? Seeing Mr. Green, come forward, please. Anyone have any questions relative to property standards for Mr. Green? Seeing none, we'll probably talk to you afterwards. Mr. Crawford, did we get something from you earlier today?
No collections reports, Mr. Chairman, until the next council meeting. That's as well as the surety bond will come in on the first council meeting in March.
Moving on. Seeing no public hearing and legislation to the agenda. Mr. Crawford.
Anything to be added to the agenda?
Not that we're aware of at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, tomorrow, Mr. Thompson just stepped out. I think he's going to prepare a resolution. I believe it's going to be a resolution, pinch hitting form, resolution regarding give me 1 second.
It's not on there.
The Southern Roots Entertainment Group. Originally, that resolution was removed from the agenda last meeting. The Southern Roots Entertainment Group had informed the city that they would not be conducting their festival or their event here in town, and have since contacted SPAR today requesting that this be considered, so it will need to be added to the agenda tomorrow.
So they're potentially going to be having it here now?
I think they're going to have it here.
They're going to have
their
it here.
plan.
And we can talk on that.
Oh, now I remember. Okay, I think I read something in the news, putting two and two together. Maybe
Having read a few things lately, I can guess why.
Chapter 10 probably has something to do with that. Just saying.
I'll tell you about that one.
Yes. Interesting.
I know, but I don't know what
Okay.
it says. What are they asking for?
They weren't going to do it. They were going to move it somewhere else.
It will need, just as a note, it will need to be
Ratification.
Resolution 17 will be changed to effectively ratify that event. So I know I'll work with the clerk to make sure that we get it in lawful form for you.
It's on the agenda,
But it's not, yeah.
we're supposed to pull it.
That's an error.
Oh,
It shouldn't have been put on the agenda. That was by mistake.
You don't need to tell everybody your mistakes. It's on the agenda.
Well, Stephanie is looking confused, so Councilwoman Lynch.
y'all
Being
just
honest.
up to some shindiggity, and I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
Oh, no. They're trying to protect the interests of the city.
Okay, we're down to public comments. We have the following request to speak. Vice Chairman.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Broussard. He's here to speak on the MPC ordinance.
I spoke with Mr. Broussard earlier, and he had shared with me a couple of pictures and about a cleanup they had earlier. I don't know if he wanted to say something about that.
Actually, that's the main thing I wanted to do, was to recognize that Councilman Jenkins and the Queer Beach Golf Course Foundation and Shreveport Green, along with the B&A, did a cleanup over in the Waterside neighborhood, and that's what brought about these pictures. Notable, I want to thank Mr. Jenkins for showing up. Did a great job. We addressed a couple of issues in that community that I think the property standards is going to be looking on. They're very receptive when we call them, so I do want to say thank you to property standards. Y'all do a great job. Okay, and also we had while we were doing our cleanup, there were two little kids that showed up. We saw a lot of adults, and we asked them, or talked to them, interacted, and said, we're cleaning up. How about giving a hand? And everybody was busy, but we had two little kids that stepped up. They came over and they said, we want to help. And these two little kids kind of stole the hearts of everybody that were out there. And I know that Oliver can attest that Malik and his little brother, they jumped right in and they helped, and so they were rewarded at the end of it. And I've approached the mayor to see if we can't get some kind of little recognition for them, because where the adults let us down, the kids stepped up. And it makes my heart swell when I think about little people like that stepping up, trying to make a difference in their community. So I want to say thank you, Oliver, and also to Malik and his little brother. And I'll bring them back up here when I can. I'll get them up here.
Please do so.
In terms of the MPC, I would only ask and recommend that this council vote to bring the MPC under into the city. I think the citizens, enter into an agreement with people who represent us that we want to have input on who actually represents us and have some oversight of them. Currently, no one here has oversight over the MPC. No one. No one has any oversight on that board, other than you get one chance to appoint them, and that's it, when you appoint them. So I would encourage this council to bring that body back under the control of elected officials, so that we as citizens know that somebody is watching the foxes. Okay? And that's all I have to say. And thank you. And Mayor, look forward to working with you on the other issues that we talked about in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, next, Ms. Liz Mayo, please. She is here to speak on Resolution 1821 and committee appointments. You may have an assistant out there that she's looking for support from.
I heard about the 3-minute timeline, so I thought
Okay.
I'd bring a PowerPoint.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm Liz Mayo. I live at 622 Longleaf, and I worked for the city of Shreveport for 5 years in the 90s. Like Felicia, I graduated from Magnet in '87. I graduated from LSUS with my bachelor's. I graduated with an MBA from Centenary. So Shreveport is my home. I love Shreveport. And last year, Bill Weiner brought me back to home because I spent about 18 years in Dallas working for big companies making big money. But because I'm now back home, I care about what's happening here. And I want to bring some issues to the table. After reading the agenda, I feel like that I have some ideas that might help us. First is this Resolution 18. If I understand it correctly, what's happening is that you are being asked to vote for the Inferno Manufacturing to be exempt of 100% ad valorem taxes. First, there's a problem with their application. It requires a 90-day application time frame. This project ended on 12/31/2016. But the agreement was signed on November 2nd, 2017. So, miss the time frame. The LEDC requires a statement of return on investment, progress report, and a statement of completion. None of that is present in the documentation you attach to the agenda. So I have to say I agree with Sheriff Prater. When the governor gave all of our taxing entities a chance to weigh in, Sheriff Prater said, no, this isn't a good thing. He didn't want to lose tax dollars. He thought that the priority ought to be for paying his sheriffs and protecting the public. When I asked my commissioner why he voted yes, his answer was that the amount wasn't large enough to argue about. Well, frankly, we're at $1 billion shortfall. We need the money. Our water and sewer issues are terrible, and every penny counts, so I'm asking you to vote no. The next issue I'd like to address is committee appointments. And I want to talk about A&E because I know a little bit about A&E. But what I think about these committee appointments is I feel like we might be going and doing the things the same way over and over again. These processes where we appoint committee members and hand-pick the committee members doesn't lend itself to transparency. And these two in particular are good people. They're not, I'm sure they're wonderful, and I'm sure they're good at the work that they do, but they're not experts. They're not architects. They're not engineers. They're not even in the construction industry. And so you're not setting them up for success by hand-picking them. It would be so much stronger if you could be more transparent and follow a selection process like what you would do when you hire an employee. Create a qualification that says this is what I need to have to be on this committee. Create that application and send it out to the world and say who wants to play. Then score those applications to make certain that you have the highest, best candidates. Because when you do this with the selection process, it makes the citizens feel like you're being open, but more importantly, it gets you better candidates. With 20-something years in HR, a selection process is what you need. And then I'll bring to your attention Resolution 21.
Okay. Ma'am, you've used up your 3 minutes, but you got a lot of information here, so I'm going to make a motion to give her another 3 minutes, because clearly you were doing everything you can to pack it all in here.
I'm sorry. I'll be fast. This resolution is the same thing. It's not a terrible resolution, but what it says is you're giving the chairperson, you're making Jerry Bowman the one person who's going to select everybody on this committee. Well, citizens of Shreveport feel like when one person selects and you don't have a transparent and open selection process, it looks like it's cherry picking and it reeks of cronyism. I know that's not your intention. I worked with you, people like you, in the 90s. You care about the city as much as anyone else does, but it doesn't look good when you handpick. An open selection process would avoid that. So that's all I'm saying is please make those changes.
Mr. Chairman. Councilman Fleury. Ms. Mayo, I appreciate you coming today, but you gave us a couple of things I think I can't let stand. First of all,
The ordinance the resolution that we're on the A&E, it specifically gives the guidelines for the people that are being picked, the job qualifications. So we're addressing that. In regards to the zoning, planning, development, Mr. Bowman, by the fact that he is the chairman of the city council, will appoint the city council members for this special committee. He won't be picking the members for the zoning, planning, and development. So I just wanted to be sure that was clear.
I didn't understand that, and the reading of the resolution didn't make it clear to me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And, you think there was a lot of information, so I wouldn't hesitate for you to either print that out or send us emails with your specific recommendations, because I'm not.
I can do that.
And they're all on the website if you have those. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Mr. Weiner.
I'm Bill Weiner. I live at number 2 Longleaf Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm here to talk about 3 things that I saw on the agenda that really concerned me. The first is wanting to protect our future. We have to maintain the partnership of the Shreveport and Caddo MPC intact and improve it if we need to, but do not move backwards and politicize it. It's independent, and it should be independent. As planning is about the future, it must go on beyond city limits. We can't have a Metropolitan Planning Commission that stops at the city limits when we're talking about things for the next 10 or 20 years, roads, parks, etc. It has to be integrated and continued. And the partnership is working. There's really no reason to undo it. And I feel now that the members of the MPC must be conversant with planning, either by experience or education, and not just be political patronage appointees. You went over this from what the previous speaker said, so I won't go into that. It's for several years I've tried to talk to people that the MPC must have its own funding source rather than getting money from the parish and the city, because I've been very involved for over 50 years with what they're doing, and I've seen in the past where the city has held the MPC hostage for not doing what they wanted and threatened to cut off their funding. That's not the way to handle a professional group. They need to be independent so they can do what they need to do without fear of losing their funding. I also see that maybe the MPC should be reformed a little bit. It is planning which deals with the future and where we're going, but it also has an arm that deals with where we've come from and administration and enforcement. And the members of the boards need to have different qualifications. So maybe the ZBA and the Board of Appeals and the MPC should be reformatted a little bit. I think that the terms should probably be 6 years, so it's not under control of one administration, and they should be staggered terms for continuity and things that you get.
Mr. Weiner, your time is up. Do you have some closing remarks?
I can go through real quick because I'm not sure what slide I'm on.
Okay, well,
The
let's
other
kind of get an
thing-
assessment of how many
Real
of these
quick,
slides we
the
have
other
left.
thing that other cities have done, that their planning commission looks at a proposal for capital improvement and makes comments to the council or the commission on what effect it will have on the long-term growth and the long-term plan. And it's not a mandate, it's just information so you can make an informed decision knowing the planning considerations.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it would be in order if I just move that we extend this time for 2 minutes.
This is about,
Just the end?
He's dead after.
Oh, he winded it up.
this is about.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Wynn, I'm sorry.
Keep going.
This is about the A&E selection process that's trying to be changed. You heard previously, and I think you'll hear more about it, it doesn't make any sense. It puts it back to open up corruption. And now, the Louisiana state has created years ago a good selection process that works, and it should be the pattern for redoing our selection committee. It has local architects, you can read that have to be experienced, and a process to clean it up and take it out of politics. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
I don't know
just
what
want
to
to
do
make one
here.
note for the record. There's been a couple of statements that the selection of the members of the special committee is inappropriate as how it's written. That comes directly from Section 7 of the Rules of Council Procedure, that members of special committees, the chairman of the council shall name the members to serve on each special committee and shall designate one member to serve as committee chairman. So that's where that's taken from.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, next, Ms. Sarah Zwig. If I pronounce it incorrectly, it may be.
Is that right?
Very good. My name is Sarah Zweig, and I've been an employee of Inferno Manufacturing for about 22 years. And I'm here today because our owner is out with the flu. And I'm sorry that you're not getting to hear him today, because he could deliver his remarks much better than I can. But you're stuck with me. I want to
Can you pull the mic closer to you?
Oh, sorry, yes. I'd like to just address something that was said about the timeliness of our application. We filed the advance notification required by the state on December 2nd, 2016. The advance notification for the purchase of the $480,000 machine. On December 10th, the machine was actually delivered to us, and on March 31st, 2017, the online ITEP application was filed. So I can't understand the argument that we were not timely or late in any way. I don't think that's correct. The ITEP status quo has been consistent and, from a business perspective, reasonable. The Constitution provides a trade-off. Local jurisdictions give up 60 to 70% of the possible maximum tax revenue in exchange for a stable investment environment. And the status quo was predictable, and that's really not a bad thing. The governor argued in 2016 that nearly 100% approval record under the old system made it look like too good a deal for industry. But from the business standpoint, the 100% approval was a way of mitigating the otherwise high business tax environment that we inherited from the past. The Tax Foundation ranks Louisiana number 42 for business tax climate, and that's before the effects of this ITEP change. If the exemptions are no longer to be afforded, then business will soon see more cost, more uncertainty, and probably, likely, are further dropping in our state ranking. The new 100% approval rating coming from the LED in Baton Rouge has the benefit of creating a fair playing field for business. No business benefits from friends in high places. There was never a perception of favoritism. There was never an incentive to try to prevail through influence. If every business application was approved, there were no winners and no losers. Last week, we won 11-0 in the Caddo Commission. There was a discussion by the commissioners of the danger of choosing winners and losers for the ITEP exemption. We feel it would be best from a business standpoint if you make us all the winner and vote for maximum exemption for us. However, you could vote no. We understand that, but it will help us. Here's the way that would play out: a no vote. If you look at the cost for our machine, plus the full unabated property tax, no exemption, our total cost increases 18% over what it could be with a maximum 5-year plus 3-year exemption. In other words, if you vote no, our effective cost for this machine goes up 18% in one fell swoop, and that is a lot for a small business. The purchase of the machine has created 3 new jobs already in 2017 and 1 additional job in 2018. That's exactly what the governor mandated, that job creation. That's what we've done. I know I'm out of time.
Your time has expired. Now, I have significant amount of questions for you that are unrelated to the public comments section. So it asks that you sit down and hang out for a little bit until we get to your agenda item, and then probably most of us have some kind of dialogue we'd like to.
Oh, good. Okay, sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all so
Certainly.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Settle, you're next.
John Settle for Tealwood. I have sat through about 2 hours of discussion on the ITEP discussion with the commission, and I learned a lot, more than when I addressed you before. Number one, I think it's unfortunate that 1 or 2 of the speakers here were totally incorrect in the statement saying that Inferno did not follow the rules. Plain Jane, simply, that's incorrect. The Board of Commerce and Industry has approved their application, has certified they followed the correct procedure. So I'm hoping that y'all understand that, or if not, maybe this lady or someone, I feel sure Mr. Martinez or someone, maybe Zazelle can help on that. But that's been made clear to me because I was a skeptic, number one. Number two, I've reviewed the fact sheet, and I believe that it's totally accurate. Number three, the annual report for the Greater Bossier Economic Development Foundation hit my office last Thursday. Sabre Industries, they applied for an ITEP application, went straight through Bossier, no problem. It's real simple. We want jobs to stay here. We've got to be competitive. Real simple. If you want them to go to Bossier, vote no. If you want them to go to Ouachita, vote no. If you want them to go to DeSoto, vote no. It's just that simple. Saturday after cycling, I went to Uptown Shopping Center on the corner of Piermont and Line. On the northeast corner is a big Circle K. They bought a couple, and there's a digital billboard right there. And I walked out, and it just hit me in the face. Flash, flash. And since then, I've seen this same board 3 or 4 times. Bossier, the best place in Louisiana to live. Money Magazine. If you don't think we're competing with Bossier, you need to wake up. They're taking that and running with it. From a marketing point of view, it's great. From a citizen point that lives in Shreveport, it really hits me in the gut. And I just wondered how many of those boards they have in Shreveport, and how many times is that flashing up there. And since Saturday morning, I've seen it 2 or 3 times going to church and back. If you want to keep jobs here, we follow the rules. They have followed the rules. It's your choice. And payroll of $200,000, and you're giving up $2,400 a year, and the multiplier effect. I hope it's a simple decision, not a hard one for you. Thank you.
Okay, and lastly, Mr. Taylor, talking on ordinance number 9.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Jonathan Taylor. I'm serving as president of the American Institute of Architects Shreveport chapter this year. I'm speaking to ask you to table ordinance number 9 today, as the American Institute of Architects and the ACEC, the American Council of Engineering Companies, works together to find a qualifications-based selection process for the architect and engineer selection of city projects. QBS is not a new idea. It's not a radical idea. It's practiced in many states, municipalities. The state of Louisiana has an outstanding system for picking qualified architects to assign for state money projects. And so I'll keep it short and sweet. Mr. Weiner echoed a lot of the concerns that we have. We're asking that you table ordinance number 9 at this time as we develop the process to present to you about 1 month from now, I believe March 24th. Any questions?
Mr. Taylor, you do recognize and realize that the mayor has the final say on that process in A&E.
Yes.
You do recognize that. She has the total say of who gets contracts.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Those are our public comments today, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I appreciate that. Mr. Crawford.
Mr. Chairman, under confirmations and appointments, tomorrow you'll be asked to confirm Downtown Development Authority nomination, Mr. Timothy J. Hucks, Architect and Engineering Selection Committee, Mrs. Erin McCarty, and Mr. Stanley Stan Barner. Historical Preservation Commission, Mr. William Lane Callaway and Mr. Billy R. Wayne. Greater Shreveport Human Relations Commission, Dr. Adrian Critcher, Reverend Lindy Broderick, and Dr. Nathaniel Manning. Shreveport Implementation and Redevelopment Authority, Mrs. Nell Sheehy.
Okay.
We're on to consent agenda legislation. There is none. So we're on to regular agenda legislation, resolutions on second reading and final passage, or which will require only 1 reading. Mr. Thompson and the city attorney talked about resolution 17 is not on here. So we'll go to resolution 18, approving Inferno Manufacturing participation in the industrial tax exemption program located at project site 115 Roku Street, Shreveport, Louisiana 71107. Resolution 20 is to welcome the National Association of Women Judges Conference to the City of Shreveport and to recognize Judge Shiva Sims and the District 6 Director of NAWJ. And Resolution 21, creating a new Shreveport City Council Special Committee named the City of Shreveport Planning, Zoning, and Development Department Establishment Committee for the purposes of initiating the proceedings necessary for the establishment of an internal city planning, zoning, and development department, Shreveport PZ&D Department, along with the accompanying boards and commissions instead of using the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission of Caddo Parish, its staff, and its ZBA for the purposes of the City of Shreveport governing its own planning and zoning matters within its corporate limit, and to establish an internal term for said special committee to remain in existence until January the 1st, 2019, or until such other time as changes by a majority vote of the City Council. And Resolution 29 is to welcome Bishop Dr. James W. Proctor, First Lady Dr. Azora Johnson Proctor, and delegates to the City of Shreveport for the Louisiana First Ecclesiastical Jurisdictional Church of God in Christ, Inc. Leaders and Workers Meeting.
Councilwoman Lynch.
Okay, let's see here. Go back. Okay, on the resolution 17, that has to be added to the agenda, you're saying?
If there's no objection, resolution 17 will be removed from the agenda, and there will be a new resolution, perhaps 17A, that we would ask be added to the agenda.
17 was removed by the council at the last
Right.
meeting, so it'll have to be reposted.
And it will
So
not
I
be,
have to
it
act
will
like I
not
don't
appear on
see
the
it here,
agenda
basically.
tomorrow.
Yes,
unless
you're not seeing it.
Okay. It's throwing me off. I learned that trick from Oliver, so I can do that. Okay. So, what changed on that? What changed, other than them changing their mind?
That's all.
Oh, that's it.
And it'll have to be a ratification because the event will actually take place before you can have a second reading on it before the first council meeting in March.
Gotcha. Okay. All righty. Let me ask you on Resolution 21. I'm a little confused on that one. We're asking to establish a special committee with a specific direction, and I'm not really clear if we decided on, did we take a vote on that? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out. That we wanted to have an internal department, and we're creating the committee to move forward with putting everything together.
There's
I'm
not
just-
been a vote to determine whether or not to bring it in. This resolution, as I understand it from Councilman, is to create the committee to draft the legislation that will be needed for that purpose.
Okay, now, I guess I'm just trying to see if that's putting the cart before the horse. Because if we get together a committee that's going to do that, then we're saying that that is what we want to do. Am I
I follow you.
confused?
I follow
here?
you.
So, it just seems like we're putting the cart before the horse. I don't remember us saying, and it may have been one of those meetings I missed, I don't know.
It was only a few. It was only a few.
But I'm just not clear that we said that this is what we want to do. I know we did the little study, and, it basically,
Well, I'm the one that authored this.
Okay.
And what I saw was from the legal side as to what committee we could go, and we need to know a lot of answered questions as to what it'll take for us to transition. The budget that comes into place and an effective date, not want to rush and take over something that we hadn't planned for. This is the planning stage.
I agree that would be the step to take if we said that's what we wanted to do, to have an internal department. I'm just saying I'm not clear on whether the council has said.
Well, it's still going to have a vote of the council,
Yeah.
up or down,
Right.
as to whether we do it or not. But I just wanted not to rush anything, to get all the facts. That's all I'm trying to do, is get the facts as to how it would perform and do. Because people have asked me, well, how is this going to work? And I'm counting on the administration to give advice as to how they would make this transition. And this is just a planning stage. And you're right, we're going to have a vote, up or down.
Well, I think the wording may be, if this is just a continuation of a study to get feedback, because I'm not really, I guess what I'm hearing, especially through this whole A&E process that we've been hearing about over the last 2 or 3 weeks, it seems that the business community wants to have more input. They're the ones that's, directly impacted, that we're getting a lot of complaints from about the MPC, in addition to our constituents, but a lot of businesses. But this committee, it seems specifically directs the council to say that we're going to create an internal department, and I'm not really sure if that's. I know I'm not in agreement with that at this point.
I understand.
I have no problem with the
respect that.
committee, with the special committee saying, as an extension of the report that was done, we want to continue to look at it, get all the documentation, how it would work.
Yes.
But to say that this is specifically what this committee is for, to bring this internal, that's where I'm kind of leery on the wording of it.
May I chime in
Yeah.
one thing? And I do agree that the line where it says purpose is definitely stronger than the way you've just described it. Because on that line it says, for the purpose of initiating the proceedings necessary for establishment. And it sounded a little bit to me like your suggestion was that this would evaluate and provide guidelines for the potential proceedings necessary rather than initiating those procedures. Now, that is a fine line, but I can see why she is saying that, because it does, by that purpose line, suggest we're initiating these proceedings.
Look just as a caveat, look at item 2 directly below it. It says this resolution does not establish an internal city PZ&D department along with the accompanying boards and commissions, but rather this resolution creates a special committee to review and make recommendations on the course of actions that are needed to accomplish the above stated purpose of initiating the proceedings necessary for the operational and legal establishment of an internal city PZ&D department along with the accompanying boards and commissions.
And I'm just saying that is a strong purpose line that I may be a little stronger than what was conveyed, at least in the intent that I just heard. But
Right, because what you just said refers back to that purpose line. I mean, if it just said, that part that you said, it's just to look at recommendations and without saying for the purpose of doing this, because we haven't stated that that's our purpose.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I'm not sure that's going to make a difference who votes which way or not, but I agree with you. I certainly agree with your.
It would make a difference for me.
Councilwoman, I can go back and make an amendment, and I'll ask the attorney to read what I would put in there, okay, and see if that would work for the council.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilman,
What we'll do, we'll change that.
Councilman Lynch, that's it?
Yes, thank you.
Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My response, and I think if you was to modify that language, it may satisfy the council lady and the others, but I saw this in a different way. But I think my response was going to be, it was not, in my opinion, putting a cart before the horse. I think a committee of such would be relevant to have all of those I's dotted and T's crossed as we proceed in bringing this department within the city. I think it needs some discussion. The original concept was that we were just going to do it and let the mayor figure it out. But I think just having a discussion and knowing what we are engaging in would be beneficial.
Okay, I'm willing to make the amendment for the purpose of initiating proceedings necessary for the operational and legal establishment of an initial city PZ&D department along with accompanying boards and commissionings that follows. Would that be satisfactory?
We'll just say for the purpose of creating recommendations for the initiating.
Would that be satisfactory?
That would certainly work for Oliver Jenkins. But
Yeah, I think that would be adequate, Mr. Chairman. So we'll make that amendment tomorrow.
We'll make that amendment.
That's it, Councilman Bradford.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Crawford, would you proceed?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We're under.
Oh, I thought you spoke already with Stephanie.
I haven't. That's number one on the list. I was just responding to her one comment in there that I thought might be the rub of her.
Lynch don't like nobody taking on her to her time, so go ahead.
Okay, I'm interested in talking about Inferno, which I think a lot of us should be interested in it because maybe a lot of people know about it, but I am not one that knows about it. Okay, so I guess I just have a significant amount of questions that either from the applicant or his representative as well, or from the city attorney, or from whoever wants to opine on the procedures. Okay, so prior to the change, how were these approved? I.e., you still had to buy the equipment before it could get approved, right? You had a notice to proceed or some type of advance. Tell me factually, who am I looking at?
Brian, I think, is a little more familiar. Were you a little more familiar with the previous process than I am? Or
no?
No.
I mean,
I know you're.
I think we all have the layman's explanation of they filed an application with the state. I don't know if the equipment came before the application or after the application. The state approved the application without any input from the local jurisdictions.
Yeah,
and
that's the big caveat.
We just received the notice.
I understand the part of the local jurisdiction.
Sure.
I'm interested in the part on the front, which is now in front of us, which we didn't really. So you may know this. Okay, you're a company, and you decide if you're going to invest in new equipment or build a new plant or whatever. What is the first thing you do? Do you know? Or what did you do prior
I think we look around for the new equipment, and then we file notification announcing the fact that we plan to buy the equipment.
Okay.
And then we buy the equipment, actually buy it, and it's delivered, and then now the request for the exemption is before you all and before
Okay.
before the state.
I've got the current down. I didn't know what happened before. They file their application with the State Board of Industry and Commerce first. Okay. The difference, the way I understand it and what I've read is, after they file the application, as the young lady has mentioned, they purchase the equipment, they fill the positions, and that may have not been done before in the past. And so, but it's required now. They can't file an application, from what I understand, with the taxing authorities locally until they've actually implemented their plan that they have filed with the Industry and Commerce Board, which they have done and followed through on at this point.
Okay.
That's different than.
I actually was under the impression that even before they had to give this notice, then buy the equipment, and then actually follow through with the application. But neither here nor there.
Same thing.
I think we may be saying
Yes.
so. Neither here nor there, and I'm not trying to dispute whether Mr. Settle was correct or inaccurate, but we are definitely getting some information that says, why would you give somebody an incentive for something that they've already purchased, when in fact I believe that's the way the entire procedures are set up that way.
They are now.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, so, but I want to make sure we're clear on that, because if I say that, I don't. Okay.
It's the way that we've understood it legally and as we've read through it, and the discussion has been with the committee, both with the parish, school board, sheriff's department, and the city. Is the way we understand it.
And keeping in mind that the changes stem from the governor's executive order.
Correct.
To allow local government input on the.
I have his executive order
Okay.
in maybe like font 4, so I'm somewhat challenged to read it in my advanced age. But there isn't necessarily anything in here that outlines that the procedures themselves have changed. It just suggests who the approval and the rest of it is.
Right.
Okay.
Some of that's coming from Dr. Wilson as well. He serves on the board, so he's kind of our subject matter expert, giving us information directly from his tenure there on the board and his experience.
Okay. Okay, so that being said, we're past one I think are the key wickets for me. Number 2, and this is a little bit difficult out of y'all's application and some information we're getting. So in 2015, y'all applied for a previous tax exemption, correct?
It probably was 2015.
Okay,
and you'll
but
have to
sometime-
excuse me that I don't know all the dates. I'm not usually involved in this part of the business,
I get
but that sounds logical. in
So
my
several years before, let's
Right.
put it that way, you applied for a previous exemption under whatever that process was, and you were granted it.
Exactly.
As part of that process, you had a commitment or made some indication about how many new jobs that would create. Is that correct?
I don't think there was that was something that we even had to qualify for in the past. So I don't believe we did make that. But in fact, what happened was in 2000 and 2013 and 2014, the oil economy was doing so well, and we were doing so well, and we had an expansion. And like you say, we applied for an exemption and received it for a new, very large building that we built on the property. It was going to be a warehouse/office. It quickly was way too small for the office. So we're still in our little tiny office, but the warehouse is a new big building, and the exemption was granted. And there were some jobs created, but then in 2015 we had the slump. The oil economy, the oil patch went south, and we didn't continue to hire. And now, by the end of 2016, is when the owner decided, I think we might have hit bottom, and we're ready to go forward with this expansion that really started, I think you could say maybe in 2014 when we built the new building.
So it was part of a phased expansion.
Exactly.
And so the first phase, you were granted the exemption. You have paid for phase 2, waiting on an exemption. There is some, in terms of your staffing or personnel, I may be a little rough on this, but you peaked at some number, then laid off some employees, and now have rehired some of those employees back.
Yeah, we didn't even really lay them off. They weren't really permanent employees. There were some temporary employees, and we asked them not to continue coming, but our owner did not really lay anyone off. Some people left, and their positions were not filled again. And so...
Okay, but now with the new equipment, your staffing level has returned or increased from
Exactly.
Okay, and then is there also a phase 3 to
Yes.
this? This is another little piece of news that I got today.
Mm-hmm. There's been a machine number 2 purchased.
There's been a machine number 2. Have you filed your notice to...
I think it's not really technically due yet. Or I think we filed everything, let me put it this way, that had to be filed. And there's another phase of the application, I think this is correct to say, that has to be filed next month. And we haven't done that yet. It's not due yet. But I think we plan to.
Okay, and according to the paperwork in front of us, there are 21 employees. That's just a number that's on my sheet. I don't know if that's true or not. Is the additional exemption come with additional employees above and beyond that 21?
Well, after machine number 3 in 2017, 3 people were hired, and now in 2018 there's been another 1 hired. So we have a total of 4. It's sort of hard to divide it up exactly, but 3 in 17, 1 in 18, and we are in hiring mode, yes, if that's what you're asking.
Well, because, once again, just speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for the entire board, I'm sure everybody's got their own opinions, but there's definitely an association in this document that the reason to do these exemptions is for business sustainability, but more importantly, job growth, right? And there is some assertion, based on the application and the data, that the capital investment / exemptions you all have received did not come with this associated job growth. Just being frank, I mean, this is what's being presented to us. And that there's an assertion that 3 more jobs are really the old jobs that you let go, but arguably maybe they were temp employees and they were not retained or however their services. So it's hard for us to really understand exactly how that works. And just so that we're clear, this is brand new to us on this council, obviously. So those are why I'm kind of going down this line of reasoning with you. I did speak to your boss today briefly on the phone, and I was hoping to have him here to really go through this. So I didn't mean to, shoot the messenger here. So those are kind of where my questions is. Charles may have some input because he's walked up here to the front to tell us something.
Mr. Jenkins, if I could, this is information that came directly off of the ITEP website, effective June 24, 2016. These are kind of the steps. Step 1, after LED's Business Incentive Department receives your application, notification, and fee, you are now ready to start your project. 1. 2, beginning your project. This includes construction, purchasing of equipment, building and materials items, hiring, and other capital investment transactions. 2, file your unemployment insurance identification number, so on. 4, after you've begun, secure all necessary local endorsements and provide these endorsements to LED. So it very clearly says after LED Business Incentives Department receives your advance notification and fees, you are ready to start your project.
So the interesting thing, I'm on this endorsement thing since you read. So was there any endorsement by a local authority in this particular case that you're aware of in 2016? I mean, I'm just pulling from the sentence that you've read right there.
It says, it's saying secure your necessary endorsements after you've begun your project and construction. You filed your application with LED.
And is anybody here aware that they secured those from us?
I think that's what they're doing now.
Yeah. You file with the state. State approves your project. You do your project, and then you go to the local governing bodies to get your exemption. So you have to do all your work before within 90 days of when you finish your work, you then are supposed to apply to the local governing bodies, which is why she said their next application is due next month for the stuff that was done in 2017.
And I got to say that personally, I think they're in a tough position being the guinea pig on this deal, because I certainly believe they thought this was not going to, when they applied, I don't think they thought they were going to have to, show up in front of all these respective governing bodies to lobby for our support. So I'm cognizant of that. Okay. I still think it's unfortunate that we're kind of getting rushed into this, but can't fix that. Okay. That's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Councilman Corbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Charles, you can answer this as well. I know we've had folks who have addressed the council on this, and some of us, probably all of us, have received emails from people who are opposed to it, talking about how we are up against a deadline and why did this happen so late. But I think it is fairly safe to say maybe it's because this is the first application for Caddo. And, I mean, does it seem logical that it got held up in Baton Rouge for some time and it's just had a tough time working its way north?
Part of that, and then part of it is the committee, once we got together and started going through it, realized that this was the date. This is the date that the application was made, so we have to start from this date with the 120 days.
Our local committee, do they meet regularly, or are they just...
We just meet when we get applications.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
I'm going to say one thing. Please invite the council, somebody from the council, to the next meeting, if we're the ones that are supposed to vote on that as a request. I mean, I just think it was fair that we could at least ask our questions at the committee.
Ms. Crawford.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Crawford.
Yeah, the representative from in front of it, did she leave?
She's right here.
She's still here. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, you said in your presentation that there was a benefit if we voted no. What was that again?
No, you haven't voted. No, the city has not voted yet.
I'm sorry?
The sheriff has voted no. The Caddo Parish voted yes, 11-0 yes. But I don't believe you.
You was in your presentation. Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying. A no vote here would do what for you?
Well, it would certainly send a signal to potential manufacturers who are considering moving here, considering expanding here, trying to decide whether to stay here. would send a big signal to those entities that Caddo Parish is not going to continue on with the exemption. And it's a lot of it for a small business like ours. This may not seem like that much money, but it really is a lot of money, and it's multiplied. It adds up over the years. It's a lot of money for us, and we have considerations about whether to buy additional equipment. We've already purchased machine number 2, but as I mentioned before, we're cramped in a little tiny office, 7 office personnel and like 600 or 700 square feet. It's tiny. And the next decision is, do I build a building to house all these people so the guy next to me isn't sitting in my lap practically, or how do we go forward?
It's a small space y'all are at.
It's really tiny. Yeah.
Well,
it's really
tell me
small.
the actual size.
I don't
Really
think it's.
small. We measured. Yeah.
Let me just say this. I think it's wrong to characterize this council, regardless of how we vote, as being anti or not supportive of expansion in new industries and businesses coming to town. We have another side to it as well. We have to do everything we can to protect the integrity of our tax entities and how we provide city services within the confines of this city. Now, I've heard two dates. How long has this company been in existence?
1922.
1922.
Yes, sir.
And throughout that history of the company, I'm sure there's been upgrading and modifications of equipment and everything like that.
There has been some. The present owner is a grandson of the founder.
Okay, it's the third generation.
Yeah,
of ownership.
it skipped a generation in between.
Okay.
It went from first to third, but yeah. And so I have to tell you, we have some machinery in there like from the 1920s. People come and they're shocked. We have some really old machinery. And we're definitely 100 years later due for an upgrade on a lot of it.
Now, why am I'm looking at your project description that you are the only manufacturer in Louisiana who does this type of...
Yes, sir. We don't have many competitors really throughout the whole country. And most of them are located in Texas, which gives this exemption. So we're at if this exemption goes away from us, we're at a competitive disadvantage.
But I mean, and I don't know how much equipment would be a part of the equation of keeping your business afloat or within your profitability aspect. But wouldn't upgrading and equipment be a part of natural business practice?
Cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Normal cost of doing business.
It is a cost, but you have to look at I think you have to look at the whole tax structure of the state. Louisiana ranks number 42 on the Tax Foundation's list for a reason. There are very high corporate taxes. We have inventory tax that at this point is reimbursed by the state, and we had this property tax that was in the past debated. But it's not like Louisiana is the only state that has offered this abatement. Our neighbors offer this.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So if it costs so much to do business here, so much more to do business in Louisiana or in Caddo Parish, then that, as has been said, that sends a signal.
Well, I mean, I think the signal is an impression of Louisiana. I mean, we've done a lot of incentives to bring businesses here in Louisiana as well as in Shreveport over years, and for whatever reason, the businesses may have stick around, but now we've had a depletion of businesses that we had a lot of blue collar businesses, jobs that was readily available here, but those jobs are no longer here. So we need the type of jobs that you're requiring and asking for the abatement, but at the same time, my concern is in a normal way of doing business, and I should be able to sustain equipment to the extent that I won't
ask the city to take some responsibility and relieve me of those taxes if I have the ability to do it myself. Because from where I'm sitting, and I think the councilman mentioned y'all being the first, and maybe everybody's going to reflect off of that we'll be setting a precedent to where, everybody's saying, wait a minute, hey, I need a new this, I need a new that, and we can afford to do it, but let's ask for ITEP to help us do this, and we'll just keep the profits in another folder. So I'm just saying, we're sympathetic at the same time. It's a balance that, as we discuss further, we'll look at that. I know that the state has been making this decision, but now it's on us. I read the sheriff's statement. The commission dealt with it last week, and they gave very few comments. They just said it's not enough to even talk about. But if you start compounding it with the business that have been in existence for 50 years, and now they want some type of release because they say they did it for Inferno, now they can do it for us. Those are the kind of things that we have to consider as well.
Well, it's sort of
no reflection on you.
because-
It's just something that, in a broader sense, that we'll be setting ourselves up for.
Right. Well, the city has, manufacturing in the city has just plummeted, and in the parish. The state, our state, we had looked at the trend. Our state and the U.S. manufacturing employment, it actually has been rising. Not in Shreveport, not in Caddo Parish. It's scary.
It is scary.
It is. I mean, I think we all want the same thing in the end. It's just how you get there.
Sure. And again, we have to package it to make Shreveport appealing, attractive to industry, to jobs, and I think whatever we decide, I'm trusting that it would be presented in a way that it will not impede upon our ability to gain new industry and jobs. Okay. Thank you for your time and coming down. I think Councilman Lynch has.
Councilwoman Lynch.
What's the list?
I did too.
I had a few other questions.
I didn't hear that.
Let me say, first of all, the sheriff's decision and the commission's decision has no bearing whatsoever in my deliberation on this. Okay, and I've served on the commission, so it's not a slight against them at all. Let me just ask you a couple of questions here. Okay, now the 3 jobs that were created, what specific jobs were those?
Trying to think of who. They're machinist positions.
Okay. Okay, and of the 21 or 22 positions, how is that broken down?
We have 7 in the office. That includes the owner. So the owner is not. I guess you could say we have 6. If you want to break him out of this, we have 6 in the office. But some in the office actually do. They aren't machinists, but they do other, like assembly work and other stuff. So, so we have 6 in the office plus the owner, and then the rest are either machinists or they do, packaging, assembly work, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So there are 22 now. I know it's confusing because we keep hearing 21 or 22. There are 22 now, plus the owner.
Okay. Okay, so this piece of machinery replaced the machine that was how old, or is it just new technology?
Oh yeah, it didn't replace anything.
Okay.
It's new and it works side by side our old machines. So it's actually an expansion.
Okay. That allows you to produce more, faster.
Yes, and with the latest technology. Yes, exactly.
I guess I'll get on my soapbox tomorrow. in terms of my thoughts on it altogether. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's it, Councilwoman Lane. Mr. Crawford, would you proceed, please?
Introduction of resolutions, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 22 authorizes the City of Shreveport, State of Louisiana, the city, to hire professionals in connection with the issuance of not exceeding $120 million water and sewer revenue bonds in one or more series. Resolution 23 declares the intentions of the City of Shreveport, State of Louisiana, to proceed with the issuance of not exceeding $120 million water and sewer revenue bonds in one or more series, making application to the State Bond Commission for approval. Resolution 24 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and Vintage Construction Group, LLC, hereinafter called owner, and acting herein through David M. Alexander, manager, for the water and sewer mains and related facilities to serve Providence Phase 2, Unit F. Resolution 25 authorizes the mayor to execute and accept an act of donation between the City of Shreveport and Providence Development Company, LLC, hereinafter called owner, and acting herein through David M. Alexander, manager, for the water and sewer mains and related facilities to serve Providence Phase 3, Unit A, construction Phase 2 and 3. Resolution 26 authorizes the mayor to execute an act of acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and WIVI Land Development, LLC, hereinafter called owner, and acting herein through David M. Alexander, manager, for the water and sewer main and related facilities to serve Lucient Fields Phase 1, Unit A. Resolution 27 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and Reunion Development, LLC, hereinafter called owner, and acting herein through Ben Tullis, manager, for the water and sewer main extensions and related facilities to serve Reunion Subdivision Unit Number 4. And Resolution 28 authorizes the mayor to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Shreveport, Louisiana, and Coates Bluff, LLC.
Any discussion? Anyone? Mr. Crawford?
I'll just, for reference, I'll say on the Coates Bluff one, that's one that kind of came to my attention towards the end of the discussion. It was one that they had been working with the Industrial Development Board for some time on, but if anybody has any questions, I do think I'm pretty much up to speed on it now. But essentially, what they're doing is widening and paving a road at their expense, but they're setting up like a pilot to offset it. And then we're doing a cooperative endeavor to make sure that some of the upfront fees don't end up costing us more by being part of that pilot. So it's a little bit complicated or sophisticated, I guess, but it's it makes sense when you read it. So if you have, once you look at it, if you have some questions, please feel free to ask. I certainly did at first, and I got good answers. So, if y'all need any more info, just let me know.
Yes, sir. Mr. Crawford, would you proceed with the introduction of ordinances?
Sure. Introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to March 13, 2018. Ordinance 16 amends the 2008 Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget. This is to receive a $20,000 grant from the cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. Ordinance 17 closes and abandons a street dedicated in Lot 18 of the Nichols subdivision in Section 26T17 North, R15 West. Ordinance 18 revises certain provisions of Chapter 10 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances. Ordinance 19 amends various other articles and sections in the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Unified Development Code. Ordinance 20 is the first of two zoning cases. This is C-2-18 is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the north side of Claiborne Avenue between McWillie Avenue and Mark Street, Shreveport, Cattle Parish, Louisiana, from I-2 Heavy Industrial District to R2 Multifamily Residential District to IMU Industrial Mixed Use District. Ordinance number 21 is zoning case number C-6-18. This ordinance is to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the west side of Airport Drive, approximately 300 feet east of Jack Wells Boulevard, Shreveport, Cattle Parish, Louisiana, from C4 Heavy Commercial District to I2 Heavy Industrial District.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Crawford.
All right, ordinances on second reading and final passages. Ordinance number 9 amends and reenacts certain provisions of Chapter 26, Article 6, Division 3 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Shreveport, Louisiana, relative to agriculture and engineering services. Ordinance number 10 declaring the city's intention to acquire full ownership of a certain adjudicated property for community development. Ordinance number 11 closes and abandons a portion of Sweetleaf Avenue and Providence, Phase 2, Unit G and H subdivisions in Sections 20, T, 16 North, and R13 West. Ordinance number 12 revises certain provisions in Chapter 10 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinance, specifically revising Sections 10-84 relative to requiring physical separation from other businesses, operations of sales of beverages of high alcohol content liquors for consumption off premises. Ordinance number 13 revising certain provisions of Chapter 78 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances, specifically revising Section 78-3 relative to requiring on-site project information to be required for projects in the city public right-of-way and on city-owned property. Ordinance number 14 creates and establishes the intersection of Sandiford Drive and Norway Drive as a stop intersection. And ordinance number 15 creates and establishes a no-through truck route on Sandiford Drive between Fern Avenue and Steer Drive.
Vice Chair.
Okay, number 1, I intend to withdraw ordinance number 14 tomorrow, or we'll vote it down however the esteemed Mr. Thompson tells me I need to do it. Secondly, ordinance 9, apparently I'm sure Mr. Fleury has received similar input that I have in terms of about their particular suggestions, and I don't think it's inappropriate to consider postponing this for a chance for a stakeholders meetings with some of these groups, because I'm not 100% sure they're really 100% clear what they want and understand what we're doing, and maybe they are and maybe I'm not, but I don't think anything could be hurt by postponing it for 2 weeks to a month to get some input from them and really find out if we can't, make something better.
Okay. That sounds good.
So I'm going to probably offer that unless you tell me otherwise.
That's fine. I agree.
Okay? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Councilman Bradford.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'm extremely happy that the city is going to acquire the old C.C. Antoine property that is actually on the historical register of historic places. Because there's no commitment other for financial help from the city. The money to restore that property is already
Yes, sir.
been placed and available.
Community development already has that.
As a matter of fact, I went by there last week, and it needs a lot of work. I hope we got enough money to to do what we need to do. We're gonna try. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But it is a historical landmark, and I'm just glad that we can get it to just put it back in some type of condition.
We've got $325,000 from the state to rehab that over the next 6 months.
And our historical people, they gone. Maybe they can help us. But anyway, I just wanted to say let's support this and get it on our preview so that we can work with it. And if and when we can redistribute it to somebody, then we'll have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Thompson saying we have no table legislation and no other appeals. We get down to are there any reports from any officers, boards, or committee?
Just to remind everybody, we are going to have an opportunity to discuss the ITEP tomorrow at the Infrastructure Committee meeting. And maybe after that, we'll ask for a recommendation of what other committee wants to hear those going forward, because I imagine there will be more of them. And we had kind of a full plate on infrastructure already, but
there's quite a few coming.
Yes.
What's that? There's quite a few coming in the beginning of this year.
Yeah,
I think there's 6.
And that's tomorrow.
Coming down.
Oh, you already?
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, and really, I would like to say, certainly, I know we had some discussion today, but really, what I would like to discuss in the meeting tomorrow is not just the application before us, but how we, sort of as a body, anticipate that we'll, get ready to be receiving more of these, because we are going to be receiving more of these, and we need to kind of lay some groundwork down so that we don't stumble over them. We may have a little bit of room to stumble over the first one, but we really want to get it right. So, I hope that the discussion tomorrow, please bring your questions, not just about the application before us now, but also suggestions about maybe how you think we should handle that best going forward.
Okay.
We like you being the guinea pig, Jeff.
I know. Just give it. It's like that. Just give it to Mikey. He'll eat it. But they're like, just give it to infrastructure. They'll do it.
Yeah. And that's at 1:30. Is that at 1:30 or 2? 1:30. 1:30. Councilman Bradford.
Yeah. What's that's the advantage, Jeff, of having seniority. See, you actually been here, so y'all can
absolutely
do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But
running for re-election.
In regards, Mr. Attorney, City Attorney, they're asking, and then maybe just for the reference tomorrow in the conversation, they're asking for 100% on this tax exempt.
That's correct.
That's correct. I think it translates to, well, I'm going back to it. It's in the
According to the thing in front of us, it translates to $10,828.94.
over 5 years.
Over 5 years.
Right.
Over 5 years.
Right.
I mean, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Now my question is, do we have the prerogative to amend that in any way to a 50% tax exempt?
Yes.
You do have that ability.
You do.
Councilman Bradford, if you'd have been in Mayor Tyler's math class, you would have known that.
I ain't going here and drive. I'm sorry.
He was too busy serving on other boards and committees that have historically been founded here in the city of Shreveport.
That's right. They had me wore out. They called me the committee man. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. As it stands, it's $2,422.80 annually.
Annually?
Yes, sir. Over 5 years.
So we're talking 50,000.
No.
$2,422.
We had different numbers. I had
$2,422.80 annually.
Okay. I got to ask, why would theirs be different than yours? Because they have an amortization schedule here in front of us that is not the same as a flat fee.
Never doubt the city attorney.
No, well, you can, but
because this is really more finance than law, is what we're talking about here. Make sure that
this is the application amount that we were provided.
And what we look at is the $480,000, the 33.65 mills that we're anticipating this year. Industry pays 15%. That comes to $2,422.80. So if they're, I can't talk about their scale, but that is what our
But see, they
taxes
have in
equate
front
to.
of us what's presented is what looks to me like a depreciation schedule. So I'm assuming that what they have done has done some accelerated appreciation on their equipment, of which we would only be generating the tax revenue on less and less going forward.
Correct.
And my question is, and it's really, I mean, we're at the $1,000 difference probably in these two, whether we do the amortized version or whether we do a flat line. But certainly for future reference, we probably need to make sure we have our documents set up. And once again, we recognize
But that's not
it's
our
the first-
document.
Yeah, this isn't our document.
I know, but the question is where our mills, when somebody has equipment and they depreciate that, does he have a depreciation schedule in some part of some part of his equipment valuation that he used to?
I've not seen one.
Okay,
I
so
haven't seen
it's
it.
really it's not a crisis. I'm just saying, can we at some point maybe take into account why this would be different in terms of how we're calculating it and how they're calculating it? And like I said, I don't think it matters particularly on this one. But
Sure.
And that may be a good discussion tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman, let me bring to the administration's attention. I'm gonna be forwarding some through the council work, of course, some pictures over. I think it was Thursday or Friday. Whenever we got that rainfall, there was some areas of MLK that flooded in people's yard that they couldn't come out. And the reason is that the ditches along some of those streets, Joe Louis, Joe Washington Carver, they're not cleaned out. It's almost like a dam has been created. And I was wondering how can we move in getting those cleaned out.
We can have public works take a look at them, council.
I've seen those streets.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Any other council members? If not, Mr. Thompson, I'm sorry, is there a clerk's report?
The mayor's, you've heard from the mayor's appointments. I believe on the agenda that we originally had, we had Mr. James Moore in the wrong place, but he's with the Property Standards Board, but we'll look at that to make sure it's right. And we'll also spell redevelopment right rather than redeploy. But anyway, so we'll make those corrections. But there's a special meeting tomorrow to hear the denial of Pell State Oil Company's supplemental application. And as you know, there's legislation on the agenda which will address that. And the city attorney will guide us through that hearing tomorrow. It's immediately after the council meeting.
Oh, that's the, okay.
And you cowards are free to leave again if you don't want to. Sorry. Just kidding.
If there, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Lynch.
Just to the clerk, is there anything that would prevent us from taking these other appointments up and just getting all these over with at the same time?
You say what now?
Is there anything that would prevent us from doing all of these appointments on tomorrow?
The only thing is the rules. You would have to suspend the rules to do it. But you can do that. The council can do it.
Okay.
The rules say we have to wait at least 2 weeks.
Okay. So we can suspend the rules and
Yes.
do
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to do that tomorrow if nobody has any heartburn over it.
Are you trying to?
So these folks can just go on and keep doing what they're doing. Thank you.
And I'm probably okay with it. I just haven't had a chance to read some of the, stuff. But I'll make that my homework. Yeah. So, no, I'm not. I was just asking if there was I was just curious if there was kind of a reason to hurry. But I mean, I get it is a lot of appointments. I get it. So.
Yeah, I certainly hope they don't expect to have to come back. I mean, I'm just assuming it's the 2 weeks waiting period.
Yeah. Let's just. I mean, we're in our 4th year, so let's just.
Well, we've done it, but I was going to ask the attorney, especially the assistant that you're proposing, is there a vacancy that needs to be filled?
There is a current vacancy.
So I think that one, we need to suspend the rules and address. But if we're going to do it, might as well do it all of them. And if that's the pleasure of the council. But the assistant attorney, I think we need to go ahead and reappoint her.
And if I may, most of them are reappointments, and most of you, some of you may already know some of these folks, but most of them are reappointments anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilwoman Lynch, that's it?
Yes.
If there's nothing else, this meeting's adjourned.